Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today's talk is in English. I want to talk today about Maulana Rumi's aesthetics of love, but also uh, I want to criticize the great German idealist philosopher Hegel for having misunderstood Rumi's aesthetics of love. The word aesthetics has Greek roots and it meant relating to sense perception. Its current usage in relation to beauty and arts originates with 18th century German writers. It continues to refer to appearance of things, though now in relation to their beauty. As James Shelley has noted, today's concept of aesthetic has descended from 18th century philosophy of taste. Taste in arts was and continues to be related to or is based upon perception of elements of a piece of art or a poem, etc., that go to make it beautiful. The term zauq is still commonly implied in this sense in Urdu literary criticism, which is a term related to the sense of taste. It is in this sense that I'm going to use the term aesthetics in this short talk on Jalaluddin Rumi, one of the greatest mystics, one of the greatest mystic poets, in fact, of Islam. The term ishq or love is the central term in Arabic, Persian, and Urdu poetry. It is used both for the ordinary love between two humans and divine love, that is human love for the ultimate beloved. Sometimes these two types of love are distinguished in literary criticism by using the terms ishq majazi or apparent love and ishq haqiqi or the real love. This distinction has mystical roots and is meant, among other things, to hint at the idea that love of a human being is only apparently love of a human being because it can be a gateway to love of the divine insofar as all existence is connected to God. However, it needs to be noted that in poetry, only the term ishq is used for both types of love, and we have to determine from the context as to what the poet means. In fact, in many cases, the poets imply the term ambiguously and thereby underscore the deeper connection between the two types of love. Also, even when human love is not a gateway to the divine love and has only human significance, it is of great aesthetical, moral, and spiritual significance in the poetry of Urdu, Persian, and Arabic languages. It is considered transformative. Rumi uses the term ishq for the divine love as well as ambiguously. When he is using it ambiguously, he means to connect the human with the divine love. Rumi's love of his mystic friend Shams Tabrizi is symptomatic of the divine love or the ultimate friend or beloved. Rumi is not the first to use the term in this sense, though. Before him, it had been implied with this meaning by the great poets like Sanai, who lived from 1080 to 1131, and Attar, who lived from 1145 to 1221, among others. Both of these Rumi considers his guides. Rumi says, Attar was the spirit, Sanai his eyes twain, and in time thereafter came we in their train. And again he says, Attar has traversed the 7 cities of love. We are still at the turn of the street, at the turn of one street. In fact, Sanai is the first in Persian literature to have used Qasida, ode, Masnavi, rhymed couplet, and ghazal lyric to express the ethical, philosophical, and mystical teachings of Sufism. Rumi's use of the term ishq is linked with Sanai. Rumi's life also overlaps with the life of the Andalusian mystic Ibn Arabi, who lived from 1165 to 1240. He is called Sheikh al-Akbar, or the great guide in the annals of Sufism. Rumi was 33 when the great Sheikh Ibn Arabi died. However, Rumi's spiritual friend and guide Shams Tabrizi had an extensive and complex interaction with Ibn Arabi. In addition, Ibn Arabi's closest disciple, Sadruddin Qunavi, was a close associate of Rumi in Konya. Also, Rumi's subsequent interpretations by his later followers have been influenced by the ideas from Ibn Arabi's corpus. However, Rumi himself nowhere mentions Ibn Arabi in his writings. More crucially, as discussed by Umeed Safi, the Maqalat of Shams Tabrizi, while acknowledging the great Gnostic knowledge of Sheikh al-Akbar, point out that Shams did not consider the Sheikh to be conforming to the Muhammadan paradigm. Despite having greatly benefited from the great Sheikh's knowledge, Shams did not find the kind of spiritual companionship in him that he subsequently found in Rumi. Shams's approach in Sufism is based on ishq, or love, and not on irfan or gnosis, which is a kind of direct spiritual insight into the divine. A common theme in both Ibn Arabi and Rumi is that of Wahdatul Wujood, or unity of existence. All is one for both of them, and the apparent multiplicity in the world is just a reflection of the one, though it does not exhaust the one with a capital O. Rumi's approach to love is to be understood in this perspective. Subsequent to Rumi, this idea of divine love found its greatest expression in the lyrical poetry of Hafiz Shirazi, who lived from 1315 to 1390, and who came to exercise great influence on German poet Goethe, who in 1820 formulated his concept of Weltliteratur, or world literature. Goethe's idea was to genuinely accommodate all traditions of literature into a single system. Goethe also wrote his West Ostlicher Divan in response to Divan-e-Hafiz, which is the collection of Hafiz's mostly lyrical poems or ghazals. Interestingly, Muhammad Iqbal, honorifically called the poet of the East, one of the founding fathers of Pakistan and a close follower of Rumi, wrote a reply in early 20th century to Goethe's West Eastern Divan. Muhammad Iqbal's reply to Goethe is called Payam-e-Mashriq, or Message of the East. Rumi is in the background of this East-West literary exchange over the centuries through his concept of love, among other things. Now, as noted by Klaus Grisnell, Hegel was one of those, the great idealist philosopher, German philosopher Hegel, was one of those who responded to Goethe's concept of world literature, and in his lectures on aesthetics, gave a position to Rumi in the scheme of the world art. However, Hegel thought that Mohammedan poetry, best exemplified by the great Jalaluddin Rumi, is pantheistic rather than mystical, and Rumi's art is a kind of symbolic art rather than romantic, which is the highest form of art for Hegel, and in which self-conscious reason or spirit is fully free from natural objects. Grisnell has ably argued that this way of characterizing Rumi's art is a byproduct of limitations of Hegelian system, into which Hegel is straight-jacketing Rumi rather than an accurate understanding of Rumi. In fact, Grisnell has also noted that Hegel does not deal with Islam as a religion or Islamic philosophy, other than placing Islam as the opposite of Christianity, which he considers as the highest religion. And Hegel takes the Jewish philosopher Maimonides, Musa bin Maimon as he is called in Eastern languages, as his representative of Islamic philosophy in the Hegelian system. Hegel is one of the earliest in the Western tradition of delinking Rumi from the religion of Islam as well. Islam for Hegel, preaches an abstract God as opposed to what he calls the concrete God of Christianity. And as a result, Islam produces fanaticism only, according to Hegel. According to Hegel, Rumi, because of his pantheism, is able to move away from the religion of Islam and hence give expression to universality in his art. In other words, Rumi is good or more acceptable because he is not really Islamic. This tendency in the West still continues in relation to Rumi and his religion. Of course, all this flies in the face of the fact that Sufism, Rumi's and in general, is based on the spiritual and mystical interpretations of the Quran, and Rumi's Masnavi, his central work comprised of 25,000 couplets, is taken by the Muslims as Hast Quran dar Zabane Pahlavi, the Quran in Persian language. Hussain Nasr notes that as per a yet unpublished work of a close scholar of Rumi's Masnavi, about 6,000 couplets have been identified as direct translation of the Quranic verses. Therefore, the tendency in the West to de-link Rumi from Islam is not only grossly misleading, but also greatly harmful for inter-religious and inter-civilizational harmony. Similarly, the claim that Rumi's art is deficient in its ability to give a sensuous expression to freedom of the spirit or self-conscious reason, and hence does not soar to the highest level of art, which is romantic art. This claim is once again grossly misleading. Hegel defines beauty in terms of sensuous expression of the freedom of spirit or self-conscious reason. I repeat, Hegel defines beauty in terms of sensuous expression of the freedom of spirit or self-conscious reason. This beauty is best expressed in romantic art, wherein feelings or deeper freedom of the spirit overflows the form of the art, which could be an object or colors or words. In symbolic art, this sensuous expression of the spirit is not yet fully free from the form. It is dominated by the form rather than by the spirit or its freedom. And classical art blends the spirit or freedom or feelings with form in a balanced fashion. Hence, for Hegel, only in romantic art does beauty, that is, freedom of the spirit, finds a full expression. Freedom is neither subdued nor matched by the form, rather, it overflows it in romantic art. That is why only in this situation art truly expresses beauty and becomes genuine art, according to Hegel. Now, even within the bounds of Hegelian aesthetics, it seems quite misleading to claim that in Rumi's art, the free spirit has not yet come apart from the objects of nature, and hence Rumi's Oriental pantheism, as Hegel calls it, is not capable of producing genuine art. This is misleading because Rumi's God, unlike that of Hegel's absolute, is not identical with the universe. Rumi's God overflows the universe while simultaneously being immanent to everything in the universe. Look at the following couplets from the Masnavi. Az jamadi murdamu nami shudam, was numa murdam bahevan barzadam, murdam az hevaneo adam shudam, paschitarsam keze murdam kam shudam, hamlaye digar bamiram az bashar, tabararam az malaik balopar, was malak ham baidam justan ziju, kulla shayun halikun illa wajhahu, bare digar az malak par ranshwam, anch andar vem nayad anshwam, pas adam gardam adam chu az gunu, goyam ke inna lillahi rajihun. I died to the mineral state and became a plant. I died to the vegetal state and reached animality. I died to the animal state and became a man. Then what should I fear? I have never become less from dying. At the next charge forward, I will die to human nature so that I may lift up my head and wings and soar among the angels. And I must also jump from the river of the state of the angel. Everything perishes except his face. Once again, I will become sacrificed from the state of the angel. I will become that which cannot come into the imagination. Then I will become non-existent. Non-existence says to me in tones like an organ, truly to him is our return. Everything perishes except his face, though everything is his reflection or manifestation. Everything returns to him. Perhaps we can put it in this way. He, that is God, is in everything, but he is not everything insofar as everything perishes, but his face remains. This transcendence of the divine cannot be overlooked, and the divine is therefore not identical with everything in the universe. So, despite his belief in the unity of existence, because all existence mirrors the divine, Rumi is not a pantheist. He is not identifying God with the universe. However, insofar as the divine gets reflected or mirrored in the multiplicity of things in the world, and insofar as those things have a sensuous side to them, they can be said to reflect or give expression to the divine attributes through their sensuous forms. Now, Al-Wujood, the most loving, and Al-Jamil, the most beautiful, are among the divine attributes in Islam. So all things beautiful reflect the ultimate divine beauty under the doctrine of unity of existence. Although they do not exhaust the divine beauty insofar as it continues to transcend them. Spirit overflows the form, so to speak. Secondly, all the love in the world is a reflection of the divine attribute of love, and insofar as it is directed at beauty in various forms, it is directed at the divine beauty as well. But simultaneously, insofar as it is a reflection of the divine attribute of love, it is the divine love directed at the divine beauty. Through the beauty of the world, the divine is seeing its own glamour, so to speak. As the great Urdu poet Ghalib says, Peshe nazar hai aina, dahim niqab mein. Under the veil, the beloved is constantly looking at a mirror. And again, Ghalib says, Der juz jalwa yaktaiye mein shuk nahi, hum kahan hote, agar husn na hota khud mein. The world is nothing other than an epiphany of the unity of the beloved. If the beautiful itself was not enamored by its own glamour, there would have been no way for us to exist. The beloved and the lover are one and the same, yet they are separated from each other in this world through existence of multiple entities. For ordinary things and for humans, existence means separation from the origin. That is why the Masnavi starts with the song of the reed. Bishano was ne chum hikayat mi kunad, az judai ha shikayat mi kunad. Listen to the reed flute as it narrates the story. It is complaining about the separation it suffers from, severance it suffers from. Love or ishq is our primordial desire, like the reed flute, to return to the origin. I repeat, love or ishq is our primordial desire to return to the origin. But our condition in the world is that of hijr, or severance, or separation. Hijr is the single most important concept, not only in Rumi's poetry, but also in all the poetry in the Muslim world, indeed, even pre-Islamic Arabic poetry. It is important because it generates in us the love for visal or union with the beloved. This union is finally achieved through fana or self-annihilation, becoming one with the beloved, with the origin. All creation is a result of the divine attribute of love for the beauty that is the divine itself. The divine is constantly viewing itself in the mirror of creations. But creation has brought hijr or separation on the created from their origin, origin with a capital O. So they constantly yearn for a union or visal. The result is that all and everything is in the same boat. Distinctions and discriminations vanish. Rumi says, Dar rai talab aqil diwana jakest, dar shevai ishq khesho begana jakest, ara ke sharabe wasle jana dadan, dar mazhabehu kabo butkhana jakest. In the path of yearning, the wise and the fool are the same. In the ways of love, the relative and the stranger are the same. Those who have drunk on the wine of the beloved's embrace, in their religion, the Kaaba and the temple are the same. What difference does it make how you are seeking? The fact is that you are seeking along with everything else in the universe, and everything is seeking the same beloved. So what is aesthetic in this view of ishq or love? Let us ask that question. Ishq or love is our yearning for the beloved, and it starts with the appearance of the beauty in the world, its reflection in the creations, human or otherwise. If we see that we are in this with everything and everybody else in the universe, we shall see how deeply we are all one in our beauty and in our love, which reflect the divine beauty and the divine love. The beauty and love that we experience through the human and the natural worlds is divine and overflows the worldly forms. It freely soars above every individual form in spite of appearing in it. So it is misleading to call Rumi's art as symbolic, as Hegel does, on the grounds that Rumi's art does not and cannot allow freedom of the spirit to overflow the form of the object. That is in fact not the case. But leaving Hegel aside, I want to conclude by saying that ultimately for Rumi, love is the fire which burns us into Adam or non-existence in the embrace of the beloved by making us one with it. The universe is in a state of dance towards this union or visal. No wonder Rumi says, Yak dast jame badao, yak dast jame badao, yak dast zulfe yar, rakse chuni, meanae medana marzus. A cup of wine in one hand and the beloved's here in the other. This is the dance that I desire right in the middle of everything. Thank you very much.